Welcome back to this latest episode of Japan's Top Business Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Story, President, Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training. My special guest today is Glen Argyle, who I've known for a long time. Haven't seen each other for years, but he's the president of Baxter, Japan. Glen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we caught up with each other at the Economist Intelligence Network recently, and I reached out to you to say, come and talk about your experiences leading in Japan. You're running a major company here, Baxter, but just people may not know your backstory a little bit. So just give us the context of, what have you been doing in your career, how it is that you are here in Japan running Baxter. How did that all happen? Give us the backstory.
Yeah. Well, originally I'm from New Zealand, but I've been here in Japan now for 28 years. Which,
wow.
Yeah.
That's continuous?
Yeah, continuous.
Wow. Okay.
So I had a lot of jobs where I was working overseas, but backwards and forwards on business trips. But yeah, I've been based here the whole time. I came directly out of university, and I worked originally in Osaka. Started actually on the JET program. And
you're an ex-jet.
Yes, yeah.
Who's made good tremendously well.
Yeah, the longest I was planning to be here was 3 years. I was going to go to Europe, do a PhD, and oppositely ended up deciding to stay. And I was in Osaka, so the opportunities for pharmaceuticals or electronics. And so I was very fortunate. I got a job with a company called Dainippon Pharmaceuticals, and I started
doing what?
Yes,
fresh out of uni from New Zealand. We got a spot for this guy right here.
Yeah, clinical development. It blew my mind, when I got the job, and I was working in clinical development with no scientific pharmaceutical background. But it's one of the benefits of old-style Japanese companies where they'll take the time to invest in you and to develop you. And, I'd spent a lot of time getting my Japanese level up in my first 3 years here.
Had you done Japanese at uni in New Zealand?
No. I'd studied Japanese at high school, but I hadn't studied it all during university. And so when I arrived, I could do greetings, but couldn't speak.
Moi pon kudasai. Important words to know.
Exactly. But that was the limit, and it was a bit of a struggle, to be honest. And so, while I was here, I'd had that very short period I was going to be here before I went to Europe. So I studied very hard to get my Japanese level up, and it worked out, that when I got the job, I was already...
Now, here's a question. Your Japanese level up, did you actually learn to speak in Kansai Ben when you're in Osaka, or you're doing standard?
So I didn't learn at the bars. So I was studying books and out of textbooks and so on. So
Hyojungo is a standard Japanese.
So my first 2 years, I think I didn't really understand the Osaka dialect. It was once my Japanese was good enough that I started just communicating with people, and I started to symbiotically, I guess, just the words and the grammar started to come in naturally without learning it from a book. That was when I started to pick up some Kansai dialect. But it was good that I did learn that. It helped a lot because in Kansai you always have to make a joke in order to keep the mood and make sure that people are feeling comfortable with you. And that was a good opportunity once you learn Kansai dialect to be able to do that. And I had a lot of fun. I was down there for 11 years.
Wow, okay. Were you living in Osaka or living in Kobe? Or
living in Osaka.
Living in Osaka for 11 years, okay.
So
we might have crossed, no, maybe not. 11 years. So I was there 1996 to 2001. Did we cross over?
Yes, I was there 1997 through to 2000.
So we did cross over. We didn't meet each other down there, though, I don't think.
I think I met you once.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Neither one of us had wrinkles at that stage.
You don't have any anyway. Still, even now, don't worry about it. None I can notice anyway.
So yeah, that was, when I started there, when I actually moved to Tokyo, that was when I noticed the difference in the dialect or the communication style. In Osaka, you say hello, and the person on the other side will then just keep talking for the next 5 minutes. You don't have to say anything. I came to Tokyo, and you would say hello, and they would say hello back. And then there was silence, and I had to work for my communication. It was quite a big change. I felt the culture shock when I came.
So how was it you moved from Osaka to Tokyo? What was within the company, or you changed companies, or how did that happen?
That was changing companies. So after Dainippon, they'd gone through the merger with Sumitomo, and some of the leadership from Sumitomo had left to establish a CRO, and I joined them to do that. So CRO is a clinical research organization. You provide clinical study support for pharmaceutical companies under contract. And so we were doing that for 1.5 years, but the financial crisis hit, and the investors wanted the money out. And so the core part of that business was sold out, and I needed to find a new job. I applied for a job at a company called Takeda.
Yes, a very famous pharma company.
Yeah,
yes.
And I applied for a job based in Osaka. And partway through the interview process, the job moved to Tokyo.
Oh, during the interview process. Please join us in Osaka. Oh, by the way, we're only just joking. Actually, I was going to
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. And I said, oh, that's a pity, because I was about to buy a house in Osaka. And then they said, no, please, let's keep talking. And so they ended up making the offer, and I ended up moving to Tokyo.
Because they moved from Osaka to Tokyo.
That was the
they
timing.
took their
that
headquarters.
was the exact
They were
timing.
actually moving the headquarters out of Osaka into Tokyo, I guess.
That was exactly that time.
Yeah.
So it was back in 2008, and so
a bit like Tokugawa Ieyasu ordering everyone from Osaka to move to Edo,
Yeah. It was one of those things where a lot of the pharma companies had already been moving, and particularly with the Japanese pharmaceutical industry, around about 2004, the Japanese government was encouraging the companies to merge, to get scale, to be able to be globally competitive. And Takeda never did that. They had scale already, but when the other companies had done their mergers, most of them had moved a good deal of the headquarters functions to Tokyo at that time. So as part of that movement to Tokyo, that was when Takeda did it too. And I mean,
so did you ever buy the house in Osaka?
No. I yes, I lost the atamakin. Yes,
Okay.
such is life.
Yeah, that would have been a large amount of money too, I imagine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you Tokyo. So then, how long we Takeda?
So I was with Takeda for about 6-7 years.
Okay.
And primarily they're working with the global CEO at the time. And when I joined,
Who was
Mr.
French
Hasegawa,
at that time?
No. Mr. Hasegawa was prior to the new CEO.
Okay.
So the Takeda family had, of course, always led Takeda until Mr. Hasegawa. And so he had become the CEO just a year or two before I joined. And he was taking over to globalize the company. And actually, yes, the person who followed him was non-Japanese and globalized the company even further. During the time that I was there, it was moving from the global operations were basically financial operations that were being led with a Japanese person there managing the financial aspect of it, to basically integrating all of the operations to become global in terms of both the commercial strategy, the development, and all aspects of the business. It was a huge change.
This foreigner who speaks fluent Japanese, who knows the industry, who's popped up inside our company.
Yes.
Just as we're heading into global, you must have been a real asset, real find for them. Not too many of you guys running around in this industry who can
not at that
understand
time,
Japan
anyway.
and speak Japanese. Very, very few on the ground, I would imagine.
Yeah, at that stage there was just a couple of us, and it was a great experience. You know, I worked crazy hours though. You know, my first 9 months with the company, I didn't leave the office before 10 o'clock, and I was working weekends, Saturday and Sunday. You know, the day I joined, I got put onto an acquisition for a company called Millennium on that project. You know, I didn't go home until about 3 a.m. by taxi to go home, get changed, to be back in time for a call the next morning at 7.
Oh my God,
So,
gee whiz.
It was, so that was my first 10 days until the announcement of the acquisition. And we'd also, just prior to me joining, about 10 days before that, had been an announcement that there was a joint venture in the US that was going to be wound down between, at that time it was Abbott and Takeda. And so that joint venture was also being wound down, and there was a lot going on at that stage. It was a very busy stage.
And you're part of a team. So you can't say things like, well, hang on, wait a minute. I'm from New Zealand. We believe in life instead of just work. So I'm going home at 6. You're part of a team. They're all there till 3 o'clock in the morning. You're there till 3 o'clock in the morning. You can't escape.
I was the first foreigner in the global headquarter functions. So it was, they'd only started mid-career hires a year or so before I joined. So I was one of the first mid-career hires, the first foreigner in the headquarter functions in Japan. So yeah, it was a Japanese organization. And so certainly I never came to my mind that somebody was going to make an allowance for me because I wasn't Japanese.
Let me introduce our global spectrum to you. This is how globally we should be working. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going home.
Yeah, unfortunately, the second foreigner that joined was a young graduate, and he ended up being manhandled, and the people were trying to get him to behave like a Japanese. I mean, I'd been in Japan long enough that I knew how to work. But yeah, the organization was very traditional Japanese company when I first joined, and it took time to transition. You know, and certainly the senior leadership wanted that to happen faster, and it wasn't an easy thing. Yeah, certainly I didn't get work-life balance while I worked for that company.
You often think about that, you know. Why on earth do you have to work till 3 in the morning or even 10 o'clock at night? Is that a function of groupism? Is that a function of ineffectiveness in work? Is that a function of poor time management? Is that an impact of too few workers for the amount of work to be done? I mean, you have to ask yourself, why would that ever be necessary? I mean, it is common here amongst a lot of companies, or used to be anyway, that they were working late, you know, and extremely late hours. And you have to ask yourself, well, what the hell's going on here? So what was it, do you think? What was driving that?
At that particular time, I mean, Takeda had always been famous for amount of overtime. Before I joined, people told me, well, you're going to work a lot.
Okay. So you were warned.
I was warned. But
you were thinking like 7 o'clock at night, not 10 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I had been working at Japanese companies throughout, you know, I was used to the concept of working longer hours, just not that level. And particularly there were, I mean, my first 9 months, particularly, we had the mergers, we had the separations of the joint venture. There were a lot of key projects happening at the same time. But again, I was the first foreigner in the global headquarter functions, and I was being pulled across a whole variety of different roles. And over time, they ended up hiring, I can't remember, it was maybe 6 to 9 people working across the different types of roles that I was doing.
To replace you.
Yes. So it was, and over time, people were getting better work-life balance while I was working there. It was...
Tough.
Yeah, I was doing a lot, and I was being called in and asked to support on a lot of different things. This kind of merger or acquisition, that's $9 billion acquisition.
Serious
So
business.
it's not very often that you get such an opportunity.
That's true.
And so from my own perspective, it was, I thought, a great opportunity to learn. And so...
If I survive...
Yeah,
I'll thrive.
exactly. It's one of those things.
Now, did you stay married through all this?
Oh, yes, I did.
Well, I think that's got to be your biggest achievement. Forget about becoming president of Baxter, to go through that sort of stuff and stay married. That's a serious achievement.
Yeah. So, of course, I ended up divorced later.
Okay.
My wife was Japanese, so one of the things that she'd constantly told me since I got married to her was, a happy wife is...
Happy life.
No, it was husband... healthy husband, but not at home, or something like that.
Okay.
So,
very traditional Japanese idea. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So...
very good. Okay, we won't go down that path anymore. But let's talk about, you then switched to Baxter. So did you come into the Baxter role as president or as a division head or something and then became president? How did that work? How did you go from Takeda to Baxter?
After Takeda, actually, I established a US CRO business.
Oh, okay, separate. There was something in between. Okay,
there was 2 companies in between.
Oh, 2 companies.
I'm
busy.
I know.
Busy.
A lot of people in Japan might call me jumpy. But the expectation here being that you stay most of your life at one company. So after Takeda, I got asked to establish the CRO operations for a company called Inventive Health.
Oh.
And so I started their CRO operations, and we grew it to around...
You're a client, by the way, Inventive Health. I'm pretty sure we do training for Inventive.
They're now called Syneos, but yes. You're probably right.
Yes.
So they were... they had a contract sales organization here prior to me starting, but I joined to establish the CRO business, and globally they were number 4, but they didn't have any operations here as a CRO. And so when I joined, I built that out. We ended up, they were acquired by a company called INC Research, and it became Syneos Health. But we had about 300 people by that stage in 3 years.
Yeah. In how many years?
3.
Oh, wow.
So we did very well.
More 3 a.m. mornings, I think, somewhere in this process.
Well, it was, a lot of long hours because Takeda had already prepared me for that. So I had, between Dainippon and Takeda, I'd had that CRO experience, and I knew that we were at 130 people in about 18 months. So if it hadn't been for the financial crisis, I was confident that we could have as a team gotten that to a sustainable number for me, which was about 300 to 400 people.
So you get the second chance to do it.
Yeah, that was right. And
nice.
I was able to prove it to myself through that process. And
no earthquakes and tsunamis and triple nuclear meltdowns in the middle of all this as well.
Well, that was the Takeda time.
It was still Takeda, okay.
Yeah,
so
still
clear
Takeda.
sailing up until COVID, right?
Yeah. But I mean, establishing clinical research organizations in Japan, the hiring of the people is the biggest thing, and particularly getting to scale. A lot of companies weren't able to do that because there's just not enough people to hire in the market. So you have to grow and develop them and train them.
Which is a long-term investment.
Which is a long-term investment. But that was one of the ways that we did that. And then we also partnered with some other local companies to help fulfill the pipeline. We were a very large global company, so we could get a pipeline of work. It was more, how do we make sure that we meet all of the demands and requirements and the expectations of the clients as we grew the business. And that was why there was a lot of late nights, making sure that, one, you're selling the story of where your business is going to be, because as a small unknown company, why do people want to join you?
So you were the president of that company?
I was the general manager.
General manager, right? And then so 3 years there, and then what do you do after?
After that, I joined Bayer.
Bayer?
So I was at Bayer Pharmaceuticals when I started there, I was with Pharmaceuticals, and I was the head of business development and licensing for 2 years, working on several deals that they needed to be done during that time. After which I moved to be the therapeutic area head for the hemophilia business. It was called hematology. And then after that, moved to the women's health and established products. And after that, I was chief of staff for the Japan Asia-Pac region.
So how many years were you at Bayer?
I was with them for 6 years.
6 years, because quite a lot of big roles. I was just thinking to myself, how long was he there for that? Almost every year you're changing roles.
A lot of the time I was there, I was double hatting as well.
Okay,
so I would, that first transition, I was double hatting. The next transition, double hatting. Next transition, double hatting. And
double salary, of course.
Yeah. I'm a local hire. So, no.
Exactly, no.
But it was, in each instance, though, again, very good experience. And, getting to take an opportunity like the ones that I was getting, the chief of staff role ended up giving me a lot more view onto the actual global operations as they were going through transitions and so on as well. And so, I was very fortunate. I learned a lot from the team.
So you've gone from sort of general manager of one CRO to basically division head, a number of divisions in Bayer. And then, is that the jumping off point to presidency of Baxter?
Baxter, that's right.
Wow, okay. So it's been quite a ride, hasn't it?
Yes.
So let me guess. You get to Baxter, more 3 a.m. mornings because there's a lot to do, or is it a bit more balanced and well established?
With Baxter, we were going through a separation. Of one part of the business. So what was our dialysis kidney business has been spun off as Vantiv, and so we have now 3 segments left within Baxter Japan. So one of them is pharmaceuticals. The other is what we call healthcare systems technology, which is basically it's devices from everything that you have in the operating room to smaller health check things like eye check, listening check, and things like that. And then we've got an advanced surgery team which focuses on things for stopping bleeding during surgery, membrane replacement, and so on at the end of surgery.
So you've had an amazing run there, Glen. I mean, just listening to you, it's like, wow, the guy who is a jet on his way to Europe has really taken a turn here in a different direction, different path, but you've done very, very well. So thinking about your collective experience, at different points you've been a leader of sections perhaps, or groups, and then whole divisions, and then whole companies, like now. What things have you found in Japan work well to get people to be engaged, to follow you?
I think, for myself, I think to get people to follow you and to be engaged, you have to provide them a story.
Okay.
You have to engage them in the vision of where you're going, and it's to make it compelling, something that they want to believe in. Of course, you have to deliver on that story as well. So if you make up some story and then you're not delivering on it, you're not acting on it, you're not showing the values behind what's in that story, people will turn off very quickly. But as long as...
So there's a balance, isn't there? There's a balance between being circumspect around what's achievable, but also being motivational about what could possibly be done. So how do you strike that balance between our potential and actually not, going too far so people feel disconnected from the dream or the vision or the end story?
Yeah, I think that's the important part, why often you'll provide 3 to 5 year visions for a company. So it does seem far off at that stage, but then you need to break that down into what can we do for this year to get to that point. And you continue to remind people on each stage, look, 6 months have passed, this is how much we've achieved. We've got this much more to go. And providing those steps for people to be able to take in bite-sized. People will put up with a lot of hard work and really challenge themselves beyond what they think they can do if you tell them beforehand what the expectation is. That I'm sorry, but this is not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of change. And you tell people what that change is. It's when people have to guess about what that change means.
They go negative very quickly.
That's exactly right. I don't know what's going to happen.
So therefore, I'll imagine the absolute worst possible case
that's exactly
is the only
situation.
Possibility. Yeah.
And that's why it's very important to continue to update people on where you are. Hey, remember what we talked about? This is what we've achieved. And this is what we've got to go in this next step. And ultimately, this is where we're going to go. And making sure that the story remains consistent, or the most important thing is, if the story has to change, that you stand up and say, hey, everyone, sorry, this has changed. Our assumptions are different than what we thought. Let's work together to find where we need to go. And give people a chance to provide input. And, you've highlighted this is generally where we're going, this is generally where we are, and try to give people an opportunity to latch onto that in their own way and provide their piece to the story. Because the story is not just about the leader, it's about the team and, how all of them are coming around together to achieve that end goal that you're aiming for.
If you want to be successful as a leader, do the Leadership Training for Managers course. All companies need people who can both manage and lead. Leading people screams out for real skills in communication, dealing with all different types of people, being excellent at innovation, planning, delegation, handling mistakes, doing performance reviews really well, and inspiring and motivating the team. Do the Leadership Training for Managers course now in either Japanese or English. Leading is easy. Getting people to follow is the hard part. That is a great quote from Yogi Berra. Surprisingly, despite the complexities of leading here in Japan, everyone has to work it out by themselves. Foreign leaders want practical, applicable, expert advice. This is now available for the first time in history. Grab your copy of Japan Leadership Mastery on Amazon today and avoid the mystery, trial and error, especially the errors. Great viewpoint on that. Now, in the case of when you joined Baxter as president, so you're coming in from outside, a little bit of a different, array of backgrounds that you've had, probably compared to most people who are in the company. And so in terms of getting engagement, how did you approach it? Did you have one-on-ones? Did you go, I don't know, how many people in Baxter in Japan?
200.
200, so a lot of people, right? Are you able to have enough one-on-ones, or you don't bother about one-on-ones? You have it just at the sort of direct report level? I mean, how did you inject yourself into that to get your story out? How did you tell that story internally?
I think the most important thing is when anybody comes on is that you first have to listen to everyone. And so certainly I had one-on-ones, but also the communication piece where you're providing letters to the organization, having group lunches with the organization, going out to meet with your customers, going out with your sales team to get to know them, trying to engage with as many people as you can to understand what their concerns are, gathering up those concerns, trying to, of course, you always have a goal of growing your business. But how are we going to grow that? What is going to be valuable for our customers, not just for us? And everybody in an organization generally knows what those issues are, what the problems are. And as a leader, you don't have to necessarily go out and burn the water, is it? Sorry, I've been in Japan too long. My English isn't that great. But you don't have to make it up. Everybody's there. They're willing to tell you. Just take a moment to listen and then put that together, amalgamate it, and try to figure out what the root causes are. And then with that, put together some projects to resolve those. Get your quick wins, and then the long-term wins will come for this growth that you need to get.
So when you talked about one-on-ones, is this with your direct reports or a couple of levels down or every single person in the company? How did you approach it? 200 is a lot of people. 200
is not possible to have one-on-ones, but I mean, you are going to have your direct reports who you're going to talk to first, but normally in any global organization, you're also going to have your global matrix that you need to contact with as well. So you've got your local reports, you've got your global reports, so to speak, and then putting that together to get a picture of where they are, and then starting to find opportunities to participate in other types of group meetings where you can hear from them. It's generally, it's more group meetings as you try to get to interact with your teams and the lower levels of the organization. And then as you have time, that's when I have like lunches with different sections. So have people at the same level all coming into work together. And sometimes if they're in a global matrix, they may not have had a lot of time talking to one another either.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's quite tricky running a global matrixed organization when you're the head in Japan, but functionally they report to somebody overseas. Yes, you're here, but actually my boss is sitting in some foreign country.
Yes.
That's not that easy to coordinate, is it, to run?
But I think that's actually what the role of a general manager or a country manager is. It's to help bring people together. That's exactly right. And those sorts of meetings that I was able to have, I was able to bring these teams together, and they had a lot of things in common. And so then suddenly friendships spark up, and this is also how you get a greater engagement. You know, all I have to do is provide the spark or the opportunity for people to start to interact, and then you get better engagement and people are happier working together and they feel that they can consult one another, whereas before they weren't even talking.
Yeah, it's very easy too, I think, particularly, I mean, every country has this problem of silos, but I think Japan's group identification can make it a little bit more tricky that they're in a particular silo. They identify within the silo, be it the parts in Japan, the parts out of Japan. This is where we are, to actually get them to then connect with other parts, other silos. And not that easy, but that's an important task. In terms of getting ideas from people, what have you found has worked well to get bottom-up ideas? Because you're coming in with a lot of experience. You've also got a very global perspective. So you've obviously got ideas and you've seen what works and you want to input things here and have them done. But there's also the benefit of getting bottom up. But as I say, when people are working in siloed divisions, you know, you've got to try and plug the people together to actually get some, you know, rich ideas coming out that are dispersed workforce, but then we get it together again, and diversification of ideas and experiences, education, all that sort of thing. What have you found worked well?
I think in Japan, if you've got a brand new team that doesn't know you're coming from an outside, people are always going to be nervous in the first instance. They're still trying to get to know you. And it's important to try to provide some ground rules that it's okay to make mistakes, that you're fine to discuss what's your opinion, and show people that the discussion taking place in the meetings is important, and it's not a perfunctory process where everything's signed off before the meeting. Once people start to get used to that, then it becomes possible. And I think I often try to use agile management type techniques, a bit like the Kanban style, where everybody comes in and at the beginning provides an update about what they're doing. I call it hot topics. Mm-hmm. And so everyone comes in, updates everybody around the table. You get 2 minutes, talks about whatever your current issues are, where do you need help? And so everybody around the table in a very short space of time knows exactly what's happening inside either the organization or whatever the topic is that we're talking about. And then we can dive into, okay, how do we fix some of those problems? What are the things we need to do a deep dive on? And
just on that point, though, I mean, you've got, anytime you get a group of, particularly I think Japanese together in a room, and you start asking for ideas, a lot of people are hesitant to put their ideas up. They're thinking, oh, so-and-so is older than me. So-and-so joined the company before me. So-and-so's got a higher status than I've got. If they're women, they're all men. I should wait for them to speak. They're sort of they're suppressing themselves rather than actually opening up. So how do you actually get them to contribute and really get some fresh ideas out there, or to start, putting up perspectives on how to fix certain cross-functional problems or whatever? Because the default is to be quiet, not to actually be vigorous, I would say, in most organisations. Yeah. Maybe Baxter's the exception, I don't know. But what do you do to make sure it is the exception?
So I think some leaders outside the US will come in with very strong statements and expect then people to challenge them back. In Japan, making such a statement, getting somebody to say no to you is that's a very big task. It's tough. Nobody will do that. It doesn't. You've got the male-female dynamics or age dynamics. Those sorts of things are something that you have to take time to break down. But as a leader, you need to start by asking questions. You need to pull out of your team so that they are going to be responsive. Japanese people take a great deal of ownership in their work, in their company, and they're proud of the work that they do. They want to be professional. It's a matter of giving them that opportunity to be able to do that. So you ask questions, you try to pull that out, and before the meeting, you don't give people all of the information for them to have already decided what the outcome is. You provide, when you come in at the beginning of the meeting, you define, here is the problem that we're focused on today. Here is the goal that we've got. How are we going to get there together? And without people being able to come in with predefined outcomes and have them then discuss that.
So you're really looking for some actual original thinking, or at least some individual thinking to contribute.
Most certainly, and you can't expect this to happen in one day. So this is something that you train people to. You take your time over months. The first month, people are starting to respond. By the time you get to 3 months, you're starting to get some dialogue. By the time you get to 6 months, you have people engaged and are creative together. And it's one of those things, when I said back at the beginning, you have to be consistent in your values. And if you're going to do co-creation, you have to do co-creation. You can't just suddenly turn up one day and say, this is inconvenient for me. I've decided this is what we're doing. That's the end of it. Every time you do that, you're taking some money away from that emotional bank account that you've been building up. If you're taking out from the emotional bank account, you still have to be respectful in the way you do that.
Yeah, that's interesting too. And in terms of building trust, what have you found works well to build trust in you as a leader?
I think being a leader and building trust comes down to the credibility. And I think there's even some books exactly written with the title Credibility, where, you know, it's the number one thing that employees want from their leaders. And that's comes down to being consistent. You know, your people know you much better than you know them. And so whatever your behaviors are, they're going to respond to that, and they're going to learn to expect to manage you however you normally behave. And so if you are consistent in trying to get people's opinions, you're prepared to listen, you consistently show respect for people, and you show that you expect other people to be respectful for one another, that making mistakes is okay. And I think that that's another big thing about getting people to speak up.
We'll talk about that a little bit, because as we both know, this is a very perfectionist culture and no defect culture, no mistake culture. And yet we come, you know, often in technical areas where you learn from mistakes. They're important to grow. So there's a bit of a contradiction there. If you're doing Kaizen all the time, the microscopic changes with improvement, risk factor is pretty low, but it's those big jumps or new jumps where the risk factor is very high, and getting people behind that, not so easy. So how we treat mistakes inside companies has a big bearing on how open people are to voice their opinion and to take a risk of trying something new. So what have you found works well in that situation to encourage people to take risk and also to have mistakes, and mistakes are okay? We observe there's a rationale here for mistakes in terms of learning. So you're not going to get punished, because one of the worst things is, yes, we want to try new things. You try something that doesn't work, whack, straight across the back of the head. You screwed up. You made a mistake. That's the end of that. No more innovation there. So how do you get that balance going?
So I think if you're wanting to encourage people to take risk, and that means potential for failure, you help to set the guidelines. Hey, this is where you're wanting to go. Within this range, go for it. If you're going outside, either way here in terms of money, time, so on, come back to me and let's have a discussion about that, see where it's going. And many times you've probably tried the same thing before and maybe it didn't work for you. So you say, look, I've tried this before and I found that these were some challenges. So give your people that heads up on what could potentially...
so you're not saying don't do it.
No.
You're saying you might have an angle here that can get around those issues.
Yes, exactly.
A new angle we didn't think of that may work.
That's exactly
as
right.
As opposed to, well, I tried that, it didn't work, so screw that idea. Get back to work.
That's exactly right. If you're going to, if somebody gives you a proposal, just saying no is a wasted opportunity. If there is a no, then why is it a no? And people should know that and understand that so that they can learn how to think. And so you as a leader don't have to be there doing it all the time.
Very good. And so in terms of thinking about building culture, because you have headquarter culture, Baxter's a global company, then you have Japan culture, then you have what Glen likes as the culture he wants to work in. So you've got these sort of umbrella cultures. Now, Glen can't do what he likes because it compromises what headquarters likes. Glen won't be around. And Glen can't do what he likes if it compromises Japanese culture because no one's going to follow him. So they all sort of have to fit into each other. But at the end of the day, though, you're the boss. You like to work in a certain environment, done a certain way. You're going to put your imprint on it, what you prefer personally. What have you found works well to build the culture in an organisation?
I think you had multiple questions there. One is about the different levels of culture to begin with. And I think as a country manager, your job is certainly as a translator. When you have a corporate culture, that is something that you need to keep and maintain because that's something that's built the success of the organization. So
and they've put a lot of money behind that too.
Most certainly, yeah. But, you know, there is nobody inside a corporation that is not replaceable or will eventually move on to a different role. And I think if I'm creating a culture which is not going to sustain beyond me, then I'm failing my team.
Interesting you say that because in a lot of cases for Japanese entities inside a big global organization, it's very, very common that Japan is an island and the person who's running that island is king of the island. And they're actually resisting resisting change. They like to run it the way they like to run it, and they make it their little kingdom. And they get away with it because it's Japan. And people can't determine, oh, this is because this person Suzuki wants to be king, as opposed to, well, this is Japanese culture, that's why it's got to be done this way. They don't know enough about Japan to work out which is the person, which is the culture to differentiate. So what about that case of Japan often being an island within a big organization that somehow doesn't go rogue, but it sort of zooms off on its own?
I'm the opposite. If there is a global change initiative, I want Japan to be at the front of it. Because there are differences for Japan, but if you're part of defining that initiative, being one of the pilot countries, I can build in those nuances for Japan at the very beginning. Being the last runner and trying to take what's been already created, I know that's not going to work for Japan.
You have to put up with it then.
Yes, that's exactly right. So there's no point being afraid of change. You have to embrace that. It's going to come. And oppositely, Japan is a very competitive market. So if you want your team to be competitive, why don't you go out and be one of those leaders in the market as well? That gives you that opportunity for your team to outcompete others. Normally, innovation hopefully is going to mean less work for your team if you're bringing in new systems or so on. And tailoring it for your team also, I think, is much, much better. So I think trying to wall off Japan is a wasted opportunity. Learning from overseas best practices does not mean implementing them wholesale. It means, hey, this is a nice idea. How can we take some of the learnings from this? Is there some way we can change that? And if you have a team which is ready to collaborate, then you can do that.
Localize it.
That's right.
If someone called you up and said, hey, Glen, look, I've been appointed to run our Japan operation. I'm coming over there very shortly now. I don't know anything about leading in Japan. And very sadly, I never listened to Greg Story's podcast called Japan's Top Business Interviews with 260 plus CEOs talking about exactly that subject. For some reason, I didn't know about that. I'm just coming anyway. And I ring you up and I say, well, what should I do? How do I be an effective leader in Japan? What advice would you give them?
I would say come be your authentic self, but be ready to listen, to learn, and ask your team members because they will have the solutions. You don't have to know everything about Japan. Just get the value out of your team, and you'll be successful.
When you say your authentic self, I mean, often your authentic self in a Western corporate context is climbing over the bodies to grasp the brass ring and win at all costs, and dynamic, change agent, just go through the wall. You know, it's got that sort of hero whole thing about it. Except when you get here, none of that works. So if the authentic self is like that, then how is that going to work? Because you come in like a bull in a china shop, you're going to break a lot of china and you're not going to get anywhere. People will just not follow you. So when you say, I always think about that, authentic self means what in the context of, is it suitable for something to be workable in Japan?
Yeah, so when I'm talk about authentic, and normally I mean inclusive, and with consideration of diversity and understanding. So to me, if you want to come in and demand and tell people what to do, Japanese people in large corporations are very used to foreign leaders that come in and will make big, bold statements about what they want to achieve. And people will show that they're doing it, but waiting for that person to leave to be able to put it back to something that's going to work. And the company, by the time that person leaves, the company started to perform badly, but it's really the next person that's going to be impacted by it. So some of those people don't care, but it's not necessarily good for their local team.
So what advice would you give them? Don't come in and start ruling the roost here like you know everything. You don't know anything, actually. And don't come in here and steamroll everyone, because that's just not going to work. So you've got to have a little bit of smarts about you in terms of how you approach Japan, because whatever worked for you in headquarters probably is not going to work for you in Japan, and there's a different way of being successful here. So what other advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think that the steamrolling part and so on very much depends on the corporate culture. There are many companies out there now which are much more towards the teal end of the organizational spectrum more than, the orange or
so
red.
So what's a teal and orange? Give us the people that don't understand this colour spectrum here. What does it mean?
Basically, the colours of an organisation, if you're talking about a red sort of an organisation, this is your gangs and very unruly organisation, whereas a teal organisation on the other end is fully empowered people that are able to think and make decisions for themselves, that respects diversity, inclusion. Most likely teal organizations don't have budgeting processes. It's beyond budgeting type approaches and things like that. In the middle you have more of your green, which is your more traditional command and control style organizations. So when as a leader coming in to manage Japanese organizations, as a foreigner coming in, I recommend, if you haven't read about these type of organizations, try to aim more towards a green organization as a leader, and that will help to pull some of your more conservative team members across from these command and control structures. Basically, in Japanese businesses, people think that the top person can say anything and everybody will just follow them. No. In Japan, yes, they respect the person at the top, but the organization below them are the ones that drive all the change, and it's a bottom-up organization. So you can give them the direction, but you have to give them that opportunity to self-define where to go. Otherwise, you will not achieve much at all.
Okay. What other comments, hints would you give them? Should they learn Japanese?
I think learning some Japanese is always going to be good. Whenever you go to any country, learning any language that you have is important. The minimum is the greetings and so on. And people are always appreciative of you appreciating their culture. Food is great here. Try the food. If you can, go out with your team members. Having social occasions with your team is extremely important. Sometimes foreign leaders end up focusing on just some of their leaders who have very good English. And that creates very toxic politics inside your organization. I highly recommend that you don't focus on just your members that speak very good English, but you need to focus on all of your team members and giving them equal time. Otherwise, you'll end up with a very biased view of where the company and the organization is, and the overall leadership team will not function very well.
And I just put an asterisk to that too. Do not, if you're using interpreters, do not rely on your interpreter for business advice. But because they speak English,
yes,
and because they're Japanese, we tend to think, oh, well, they can, I can share my issues and they'll give me feedback and an opinion. Don't do that, because invariably interpreters have got very weak business technical backgrounds. They're linguists. They usually have not worked in big companies for a long time. They're independents. And so they're just interpreters.
Yeah.
Find someone in the company who can speak English, who you think is someone you can trust, or numbers of them, I think, and get their advice, because that's much more relevant. But often it's like a life raft, you're thrown overboard, and there's a life raft, and this English-speaking person who happens to be the interpreter, next you're getting her, or usually her, opinion on stuff that's really, she's got no real capability of giving you that advice that's meaningful. Maybe some cultural stuff perhaps, but I often see that. It's like, why is that your go-to person? Isn't there not anybody else you can go to get some advice? But often they don't. They don't think about it. So that one about the English speaker is also a problem.
One of the benefits now is you have like the AI tools, which basically you speak into, and you can have the conversation with anyone. I know of some recent arrivals here. They have one for themselves, one for the person on the other side, and they have conversations using their own native language, which doesn't have to be English, any language at all. They're very good at the quite native or close to level types of conversations. Now, there's never been a better time to come to Japan. I mean, when I arrived, you had textbooks, paper, carrying around dictionaries everywhere, and now everything is electronic. It's much more convenient to be able to learn. And if you haven't got that opportunity before you arrive, there are still these types of tools which you can start those conversations at a much faster pace than you ever could before.
What's your definition of leadership?
Leadership is it's creating change. It's the ability to bring people to somewhere that they didn't think they could go. Making people want to join you on that journey. It's everybody can show leadership in some way, shape, or form on a daily basis, but in a corporate environment, it's really about taking not just that stepwise change you were talking about before, but how do we make that leap together to something that's a different state than where we are. Hopefully people enjoying it as they go through that, developing people, developing the organization, those things.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
This has been great. This has been great. So please join us again for our next episode of Japan's top business interviews.